like a general information that you may need in your future career. I guess most of you are doing a PhD. So at the end of your study, you will have two choices. It's either to work in academia as assistant professor, then associate, then finally, of course, professor, if this is your chosen pathway. But some of the PhD graduates choose to work in industry. So this workshop is designed for those who wish to continue for academic-based job. Actually, academic-based job, it's like a life commitment. So you have to continue developing and enhancing your skills as you go along the way. But to start with, to secure an academic job, or what do you need to do at first to have a jump start? You need some plans, and this is what we're gonna discuss very briefly. Actually, we only have 1.5 hours, so I will not be able to cover all aspects, but however, we'll give a brief introduction on each one of them. So what is the underlying challenge here? If we go back to 25 years ago, it would have been a bit easier for us to find academic job. However, now there are thousands of PhD graduates around the world. It is like a very competitive market. It's very competitive to find academic job, because if you apply for any academic job, you will find out that at least 100 other applicants have applied for the same job. So you have to stand out of the crowd and do your best in getting this academic job. So why do we have this scenario? Because now it's very easy to get the information. Now everyone knows, like if there is a university in the States have opened a position, for example, in California or in Tokyo or in Seoul or any other place, everyone will know that there is an opportunity, because it's like a global market, so that you will have hundreds of applicants for the same job. That's why you have to prepare yourself when you are still doing your PhD to secure an academic job. I mean, at the end of the day, most of us will secure an academic job, but it depends where you will. It depends on your work. So nowadays, global technology has removed all these physical barriers. So we can interact with other people from other side of the world. We can apply for job. Anywhere. So that's why it is a very competitive market, and we need to develop our academic-based job. So as I said before, perhaps when you apply for an academic job, you will not get it from the first time. But nonetheless, you need to keep trying and improve your CV and try to be more focused when you look for a job. So why do we have this scenario? Because when we say academic job, it's mainly based on a research. If you apply for a position, you will not get this position based on your teaching experience or teaching achievement. You will get it most likely 95% based on your research profile. Because all these institutions and universities, they will assume that everyone can teach, like we all can teach. Like if you spend some time to prepare your lecture slides, to understand the content very well, to develop your communication skills with the student, at the end of the day, you will be able to teach. So teaching, it is not we say it in chemistry, it is not the limiting reactant in this case. Like we all can teach, but what will determine if you will get the position or not? It is your research profile. And since we are all doing a research degree, it's very important to improve your research profile from the moment that you start your PhD. Because in the PhD, actually, is not just about doing one topic. And it's like a training degree. You will get a training on a certain sets of tools. And after you graduate, you are expected to apply these tools or to expand your knowledge to other disciplines. And like if you want to do a research, you need money to do the research, because nothing is free. So that's why it's also getting very difficult to get money to fund the research. So that's why academic-based jobs now are very competitive, because the amount of funding opportunities are now getting less and less. That's why it's very important to prepare ourselves. Well, this is the whole challenge, because the amount of fund is less to do a research, and you need to optimize your time, your effort in publishing papers. Nonetheless, teaching is also important. I'm not saying teaching is not important. Teaching is equally important once you secure the job. Like for any academics, there are three aspects of our time. We do research, we do teaching, and we do service. But nonetheless, when you get the position, they will not give it to you because you are a good teacher. They most likely will give it to you because you are a good researcher. But once you get the position, they will expect you to teach. So teaching comes by default. This is what I'm saying. Of course, I mean, as an early career researcher, the first person who will guide us and give us advice is your PhD supervisor. He's the first point of contact. So, I mean, a good PhD supervisor will work like a mentor, not only in doing research and getting the result and writing the publications. He or she is expected to give you guidance along the way, like how to improve your CV and how to be more focused on your research and how to optimize your resources. So mentors or PhD supervisors have other responsibilities. I mean, they are expected to help you to understand the whole process, like where to publish and what to publish, and they are expected also to give you hints and guidelines how to write a research grant. So when you finish your PhD, everyone expects that you will be independent, that you can write your own paper, you can write your own research grant. This is when you finish your PhD, because these are the most important skills in academic-based job. I mean, for example, nowadays, you should write your own paper. You are expected to write a good proposal to attract fund. So if you achieve these two objectives and you know how to do it efficiently and effectively, then you are in a much better position to secure an academic job. And once you secure this academic job, you'll have a better chance to excel, to do very well. It's writing a paper, publishing it in a high quality journal in your field, and writing a research grant. There are other things, of course, supervision, reviewing articles, and teaching, but nonetheless, these are the two more important aspects, is to write a paper and to write a research grant. This was distinguished, actually, a teaching-focused faculty member from a research-focused faculty member. Like we all teach, as I said, but people who are active in research have another edge. They have the employability skills. If they leave an X university, they will be in a better position to find a job at another universities. So that's why it's very important to keep improving your research profile to increase your chances of getting the job, even if you are already in a position. Because nowadays, like nothing is certain. Universities gives contract, 3 years contract, 5 years contract. So there is a chance that you may be asked to leave the position. And in this case, you should prepare yourself to secure the second position. But nonetheless, all of you are still PhD students, I assume. So we are not yet at that stage. But what's the focus today is just to chat together about what should be done at your early career as a researcher. So here researchers means academic job, basically, like, so nowadays. So being a faculty member, as I said, it is an international occupation. like for most of us. For example, if we look at the nationalities that we have here at the university, we come from all around the globe. So we have people from America, from Canada, from Nigeria, from India, Pakistan, from everywhere, of course, from everywhere. So it's like an international occupation. So if a university advertise a position, they will have applicants from everywhere. And most likely they will give the position based on talent, not based on where you are from. Or so now talent is the main aspect of granting the position. So we should keep this in mind, that securing an academic job is now international occupation. Like I was working in Australia before myself, and in my school, none of the faculty member was Australian. We all came from somewhere else. So because it's an international occupation, but this being for the academic job to be an international occupation, this is a challenge, but it's also provide opportunities. This means that you have the door wide open for you to look for a job anywhere in the world. Anywhere, like Japan or wherever. I mean, as long as you have a good CV, this is the most important thing. Once you in the final stages of finishing your PhD, you need to plan your career. If you go back 10 years ago or 20 years ago, having a PhD was enough to secure an academic job, because there were not too many graduates. There are a few of them. So when you apply for a position, you just tell them I have a PhD in chemistry or physics or astronomy or accounting, business, whatever. They will give you a job because they are looking for someone to teach. But now, no, having a PhD is the minimum requirement for securing an academic job. It is like an admission criteria, basically. So they will just look that you have a PhD. Okay, that's fine, thank you. But what else do you have? What else do you have is basically a strong record of publications and securing grants. This is what they will look at. So when you are about to finish your PhD, you have to put some goals, and those goals that you put for yourself, they have to be specific, they have to be attainable, they have to be realistic, they have to be time-based. For example, you could say that I would like to publish 10 articles in the next 2 years. So this is somehow a realistic goal for yourself. But if you say that I will publish 100 or I will secure 20 million grants or whatever, this is not realistic. So you have to set some goals for you, and those goals could be changed with time. So you have to be flexible. Having a plan is better than not having a plan at all and let things drift away. So as I mentioned, having a PhD is not enough nowadays. It used to be enough 20 years ago or 15 years ago, but this is not the case now. Even if you apply for a teaching focused position in a university, they will ask you what research have you done, and it's very important to keep doing research when you finish your PhD. I think 50% of PhD graduates stop doing serious research after they finish the PhD. Why? Because we know doing research is very annoying. It's time commitment. It takes you from the things that you enjoy in life, from your family. So it is not for everyone to continue doing research after finishing your degree. But nonetheless, plan for academic job, it's very important to keep doing research along the way. So you need a plan. Well, let's assume that when you finish your degree or before that, you will have people might ask you to review a paper or to participate in a conference committee. So here you will have some choices in your career when you start. You can either, because at the end of the day, we have only 24 hours in the day, right? Only 24 hours. So you could focus on teaching, you could focus on research or doing service. So it's your choice how you plan to do it, but you should always be able to say no. For example, if you are approached to review a paper, like I think if you are a corresponding author already in a manuscript, there is a chance that you will be asked to review a paper. So when you review the paper, you are not doing anything for yourself. You basically helping another one to publish his paper. That's all, but on the expense of your own time. So now it's your choice. It's either to spend time on reviewing that paper for someone else. I mean, of course, it's very important to review paper. If no one is reviewing the paper, then no paper is published. But what I'm saying that you should have a choice of saying yes or no if you are approached to do something. For example, you could be asked to be a member of a conference. This is a time commitment, so it will take you from research. So if you plan to be a research-focused faculty member, then you should optimize your time to do a research. Actually, most of the people who are on the administration side, I mean, not all, but most of them will have little time to do a research. So my advice is don't assume an administration position before you have a strong track record of research. Then this administration position will come. Because in most universities around the world, like administration positions are given to people with a strong track record of publications. So don't overwhelm yourself of administrations or teaching on the expense of research. So your focus should be on research while doing other things to the minimum requirement. For example, if you have to teach 2 courses a semester, then just teach 2 courses. Don't take a 3rd course. For example, if you will be paid for extra money or something, because this will be at the expense of the time that you devote for research. So as an early career researcher, the ticket to get an academic job basically is research. Other things are important, but not as important as research. I mean, when you plan for your career, there is always a life-work balance because other things in life are important. For example, if you have a family, then you should spend time with your family and not overwhelm yourself with work. So this means that you have to work smarter, not harder. For example, I'm from a chemistry background, so we spend most of the time initially to prepare the experiment, to make the setup ready to do the experiment. So this is the hard part is done. Then it's easy to generate the result. So what I'm saying that you should plan things smarter, in the smarter way, not the harder way, to have enough time to do other things, in life. So work-life balance is extremely an important skill because I know many people of my colleagues, they don't have a social life at all because they just spend most of their time on research, on their work. This is not healthy. I mean, at one day you say it's enough, I'm not continue doing it anymore. So every one of us should have a work-life balance. So for example, if you publish 5 papers in the year, it's enough. So like you don't need to kill yourself in work to publish a 7th, another 2 papers. Normally, if any one of us is able to publish 4 to 6 papers in the year in good journal, it's enough. This is the definition of a research active academic faculty member. It's publishing 4 papers. If you publish 4 papers, it's enough. You will be in, this is the minimum requirement. You will be in a good position to continue. But if you publish more, it's good. But you have to be mindful of your work-life balance. It's extremely important. Okay, so the first step in the skills is to, it's basically to have a career plan. So what I'm in the career plan, you should do the things that will enable you to do more effective research. This is the first point. And the second point is when you finish your PhD, you need to select the research. Most people will try to stick to the research topic that they did in their PhD, which is good, of course, because you know how to do it. But that PhD is like a research training degree. So it gives you the skills, the tools to expand your knowledge, and you are expected to be able to do research in other closely related areas. For example, if you are doing a research in hydrogen production from methane in your PhD, then after your PhD, you could work on a related topic. For example, hydrogen production from other type of, from biomass, for example. Or, I mean, it depends on your field. So you should not stick with only your research PhD topic. So you should expand your knowledge and look for new ideas. So the question is, should I stick with the same topic of my PhD? Well, not necessarily, because most likely, in most cases, you are not the one who chosen your PhD. It's your supervisor. And your supervisor, I mean, you choose your topic 3 or 4 years ago, and the world has changed. So this topic is no longer important, for example. So there is another topic. It's more exciting that you could do more. You could do more in this new topic. I mean, because you have the skills that you can do it. For example, you know how to do statistical analysis. So you could apply your knowledge in statistical analysis on other research ideas. So the most important thing is how to find the new ideas. Most likely, the easiest way is to read articles from good journals in your field. So if you read the recent articles in your field, you would know what is currently the trend. So you can just follow the wave. I mean, as much as you can. This is what people are doing currently. So I can do something similar to it, or I can do something that I might do well because I know how to do the techniques. I understand. I have the skills. So at the end of the day, PhD, I mean, it's not only generating. If we go back in history, like 100 years ago, people who do PhD, they will make discoveries, like something very, very important, very, very unique. But it is not the case nowadays. Doing PhD is mainly a training degree. You are trained to do something. So PhD, it is not a discovery degree anymore. It is to train you on a set of skills to generate result. This is the whole idea of PhD nowadays. Like, it is highly unlikely that we will discover something in PhD. We are just applying the concepts to obtain a new outcomes, to generate new results, and those results can be published. So what you should focus on your PhD is to train yourself basically on different tools. For example, if the department bought a new instrument, go there and try to see how this instrument is used and how can I apply it in my research. If new software, then try to use this new software, because when you are a student, you can use things for free. But if you graduate, you cannot come back, and I mean, in most cases, you will not have an access to the software, for example. But when you are a student, you have access to many free tools. And when you write your CV, you could say that in my PhD, I have used those tools and I use them efficiently. So if you give me the position, I can apply these tools because I know how to use them. I can train the student. So in your PhD, try to equip yourself with as many tools as possible, like instrument, or how to do a survey, or how to do statistical analysis. Like, it depends on your field, and all this will help you to open up a new topic of a research after you finish your PhD. So PhD is not the end of the journey. It's basically the starting point. For example, when I did my PhD, I did it on pollutants formation 15 years ago. But now I'm not working on this anymore. I have moved on. I'm doing something else. And this is the case for anyone else. So most likely, most of the good researchers will not stick to their PhD topic. And the reason why, because they have not chosen this topic. I mean, for example, like how many of us have chosen his or her PhD topic? I don't think many of us have chosen the topic. It's mainly the supervisor, because the supervisor is interested in that topic. I mean, of course, when you finish the degree, you can find new ideas away from your supervisor. So try to be independent as much as you can, and don't always rely on the supervisor. So you need to have your own pathway. I think it's like a negative thing if you keep publishing with your PhD supervisor after you graduate. So you have to move on at least for 2 years or 3 years, then come back. So you need to publish with different people. So publishing with different people will tell other that you are an independent. You can do things on your own, away from your supervisor. Well, I mean, of course, I mean, it's good idea to continue doing to continue in your research topic for a certain amount of time, but then you need to choose your own pathway you want to choose. So nowadays, like in every country, there is research priorities. I think in United Arab Emirates, we have our research priorities are in water, energy, I'm not sure what else, maybe education. But so when you choose your new topic, try to make it in line with the current research priorities of the country, because this is where the fund comes from. I mean, no one will give you a fund just for the sake of knowledge. They need to find solutions for a problem at hand. And this solutions has to be in line with their research priorities. For example, energy, water, environment, IT security, or any other thing. So you have to be aware of what are the major needs of the nation that you are working at, and try to align your new research topic with those needs. So why it is so? Because it's easier to get a fund. I mean, for us now, if there is no fund, you cannot do any research. So having a fund, it is like a must to do a research. Well, when you finish your PhD, let's assume that most people will work as a postdoc, and I mean, it's very important to choose the new supervisor. I mean, some of us will make a mistake in choosing the supervisor of their PhD, but at that time they were very stressed. They just would like to find a PhD supervisor anyway, for example. Anyway. But once you finish your PhD, then you should explore more and be more careful when you choose the next supervisor. I mean, he should allocate some time for you. I mean, when you are at the interview, then it's also good that if you secure the position, if he tell you, okay, we will give you the position, then you could ask them, like, how your research goals align with my research goals. I mean, you should ask them direct question, like, if I join your position, if I join your institution or a position, what are the benefits that I may get, I mean, from working with you? I mean, my advice is not to, if you choose, for example, if you want to work as a postdoc, my advice is always to go with young researchers, for example, assistant and associate professors. If you end up working with a professor, I mean, not all of them, all these professors are well established, so they have less drive to do more research. I mean, it is not always the case. I'm not saying this, but in most cases, it's better to go with a young researchers to work with him as a postdoc. I mean, if you can, I mean, if there is an opportunity, because young researcher, I mean, he would like to excel. He would like to publish more papers, and along the way, he will help you. But if you work with a well-established professor, most likely he will be very, very busy. And yeah, so I mean, it's better to go with a young researcher. I think a friend of mine told me he secured a postdoc position 3 years ago, and he met his supervisor only twice. On the first day, when he joined the position, and in the last day when he wanted to say goodbye, because his new supervisor was very, very busy. He was an important scientist in his field. I mean, having an important scientist to be your supervisor, your postdoc supervisor, is a good thing, but it is also might come with disadvantages. I mean, he will be very busy. I mean, to contribute to your own research. I mean, yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, we will not be able to get the position unless we have a very strong CV nowadays. So nowadays they give the position based on the talent, based on the achievement, rather than based on any other things. I mean, when you are in the position, or if you are, I mean, most of the PhD student will work as a postdoc for 1 or 2 years. I mean, once you secure the position, you could ask a question like in a sensitive and appropriate way, like I am very keen to build my high quality research career by working with you. So could you please describe your supervision and personal management style to help me to optimize our working relationship? So don't be shy to ask such questions. I mean, if the new supervisor is, I mean, like if he's professional, he would be happy to answer this question, but you need to answer it in a sensitive and appropriate way. So my advice is not to go for a position just because you secured a position. You need to be somehow selective, and you could look, for example, if you were given a postdoc position with someone who didn't publish a single paper for the last 5 years, most likely you will not publish any paper with him because he's not research active. So this is what I'm saying. So when you choose your next supervisor after you finish your PhD, you have to be careful. You have to use, like, what you need to know is the new supervisor. Look at his CV, what he has been doing. Try to ask other students or other people who might have worked with this supervisor to see how is he, like, does he help his postdoc? Like, is he a difficult person to deal with? Because we are people, so each one of us has his own, personality. So you will have the chance to think more when you choose the next supervisor. Well, I mean, how do you know the new supervisor? There are indirect routes. For example, your PhD supervisor would know the new supervisor. So you can talk to your PhD supervisor to see, or talk to his current students, because you don't want to end up with a negative person that he may not help you to publish more papers, or he will be too busy to give you any guidance. Because I think what defines you as a career actually is 2 things. It's what you have done in your PhD and what you have done in your postdoctoral in your postdoctoral research. This is what defines you for the rest of your academic life, like in most cases. So you have to be careful when you choose the new supervisor, like if you have the chance, but most of us will take the first opportunities, which is fair enough, because now it's very, very competitive to secure any position, but it's still possible. Well, when you are about to, if you are sometimes when you apply for position, you applied for different position, and you have offers from a few of them. So at that time, you need to think carefully, which one should I choose? I mean, what's my advice? You should choose the position based on the university. If it's very good university, very well established universities, I would go for that. So I would not tend to go for a small universities, because small universities have their own problems. They will have funding issues, but like in good university, they have well-established policies. So they will. So you can go with the flow in large universities, in good large universities, but in small universities, there is always issues. So if you have a chance, to go either with a large university or a small university. I would go for the big university. Like there are 30,000 students, while other universities have 5,000. If the student have this number, if the university has this number of students, this means that they might have financial issues. So you might get the position for 1 year, but next year they will say, we are sorry, we don't have the fund to keep you. We don't have the salary for you to keep you with us. So always go for the, if you have the choice, of course, you go for the good university where they have well-established policies. I think it's important for any academic to establish research collaboration. I mean, when you start your PhD, who are your research collaborators? Of course, I mean, it's your supervisor, it's your colleagues who work on the lab, but once you finish your PhD, try to establish your own research collaborators. So how do you find those research collaborators? If you attend a conference, don't just keep silent to yourself. Try to approach other people, to talk to them, ask them what kind of research they are doing, and they will ask you the same. So this is how people get to know each other. It's by attending conferences. I think now all conferences are unfortunately online, so there is not much chance of a personal interaction, but I am sure hopefully next year we will go back to normal. So if you attend to conference, try to talk to many people as possible. Take their business cards, and when you get back home, write to them. So they would know you. When you try to publish a paper, you can select them as a reviewer. So I mean, at the end of the day, it will work as a win-win situation if you have more collaborators. So I think it's very important. If you want to have a strong track record of publications, you need to have a strong and healthy networks of collaborators, not necessarily with your supervisor, with other people. And this comes, you could also read someone else's paper and write to him, because when you read a paper, there is always the email address. You could, I mean, if you think this person can contribute, or you can contribute to his research, you can write to him directly and to establish a research collaboration. But also, when you start a collaboration, you should think what you might get out of this collaboration, because you will spend time on this collaboration. I think now it's now when you do a research collaboration, there is a question like, where am I going to be on the paper? And this should be asked. This should be asked before anything. For example, if someone asks you to do this experiment for him, or to do this statistical analysis for him, or any other thing. Well, I mean, don't be shy. Ask him, if I do this, would I be a co-author of the paper, or where would I be? Because some people will get it wrong. They will just add you, they will just mention your name in the acknowledgement, which is not enough. If you contribute to the paper, then you should be a co-author. And this should be made clear before you start the collaboration. I mean, to avoid any surprises. And but of course, don't approach anyone to do collaborations before you can contribute effectively. For example, if you collaborate with someone and he added you to his paper with minimal effort from you, I mean, I think nowadays it happens all the time that people normally don't contribute to the papers and their name are added. For example, if someone added you to the paper without contribution from you, I mean, I'm not saying it's correct, it's wrong, but it happens. But next time he will not add you unless you give him something back. So you need to keep this collaboration alive always. Like if he adds you to the paper, try to retain the favor to him, because the collaboration will stop if you don't give him something back. This is the whole point of collaboration. I think collaboration is always important. People with high list of papers, they don't write all these papers by themselves. They just write a fraction of them, and the rest of the papers comes from their collaborator. And nowadays we have two important things. It is the number of citations and the number of papers. If you want to have academic job in a good university, you should have both. A good number of high quality papers in addition to the citations. These are the important things. And both of these things comes from collaboration, because you cannot write 10 papers by yourself in a year. It's not possible. So you need a collaborator. So those collaborators will add you to their paper if you contribute, of course, and you will do the same. You do the same. For example, you have an access to an instrument where you can do the test. Your collaborator will ask you to do the test for him. You do the test, you will give him back the result, so he will add you. I mean, any kind of contribution should be acknowledged as a co-author, but this should be made clear before anything starts. So you are on the same page. Otherwise, it will be a problem. Like, even if you give an idea to the paper, I mean, your name should be there, because idea is the most important thing. I think nowadays many papers are retracted because contribution of people are not acknowledged. Well, this takes us to the author order in a collaborative work. I think here you have the choice, is either to write your own paper, you will be the first author, for example, this is very important, or to collaborate around, but your name will not be a first author. It will be a fifth or fourth or whatever. As an early career researcher, all your papers from your PhD, all of them, I'm saying all of them, and should be, you are the first author. You should be the first author. Like, if a paper comes from you, from your thesis, then it is your name that should be first, not your supervisor name. Because when you finish your PhD, you should have at least 2 or 3 papers. I mean, at least, some people publish more, but you should have 3 to 4 papers, and you should be the first author. So no one will give you a job if you are not the first author, at least in your PhD. I mean, they will think that your supervisor did the job. That's why he is the first author. Anyway, but if you choose to collaborate, you will be ending up with author number 4 or 5 or in the middle. I think it is widely accepted that if your name appears as a 4th or the 3rd author in the middle, that your contribution is minimal. I mean, so when you have this paper, you cannot claim that I did most of the job. I did most of the work in the paper if your name appears as a 3rd author. I mean, I'm sure you have done something, but it is not significant. So what's my advice? My advice is to, when you try to have 3 to 4 papers from your PhD as the first author, because first author is the most important thing in your, as an early career researcher. First author, that means that you have done most of the job, and your supervisor gives you advice. He read the paper, he gives you comments, and you have implemented those comments, but you should be the first author. So who should be an author? If you made a substantial contribution to the concept, or you have helped in drafting it, writing some part of the paper, and of course you have to be approved. You have approved it. I mean, if you are approached with someone to add you to his paper as an early career researcher, don't do it, because the more number of authors on the paper, this will dilute your contribution. For example, I have seen papers for PhD students with 10 names on it, 10, sometimes 15. If you have 10 other authors in your PhD on manuscripts from your PhD, then what's your contribution? Like, what have you done? Maybe 10%. So it's likely a negative thing to have more authors on manuscripts from your thesis. Sometimes we have more than one supervisor, 2 or 3. Of course, I mean, they will be on the paper, but you should always be the first. I mean, if you are not the first author in your manuscript from your PhD or master, then there is, I mean, it's wrong. Yeah, something's wrong. Well, what's the importance of the author's order? When you apply for the job as an early career researcher, for example, you want to be an assistant professor, the first thing they will look at is your publications from your PhD and from your postdoc. If none of them, if you always appear second I mean, no one will give you the job because they would think that you didn't do the job. So you will not contribute once you join another position. Also, it's very difficult to claim that the bulk of that you have done the bulk of the research if you are not the first author. I think it's not always possible, but you can ask your supervisor if he could add you as a co-corresponding author. So the importance of co-corresponding that you are owner of the work, that you will be asked for the people to review articles. So you will be known. So you publicize yourself. I mean, if my student asks me if he could corresponding, it's fine with me. I think it's fine with most supervisor to add their student as co-corresponding author. Co-corresponding, that means that your email will appear on the first page of the paper. So people might approach you for, they will start collaboration with you. They will ask you to review papers, but I mean, at least in your postdoc, maybe it's not always the case in a PhD, but if you do a postdoc, I mean, after you finish PhD, try always to be a corresponding author. If it's not the sole corresponding author, try to be a co-corresponding author, because nowadays first and corresponding author are equally important somehow. So both of them are important. So when we speak about the author's order, the first one is very important. The last one is important, or the corresponding. So in most cases, the supervisor will be the last one, the corresponding author. So both of them are equally important. But if it's your work, then don't agree that you should not be the first author at all. Well, I mean, now there is a question but everyone can answer this question on him or herself. Like, do I need to publish less number of articles as the first author or more as a co-author? What's my advice? Publish a few numbers as the first author. This is like a must. Then it's okay if your name appears as a co-author, but you should have your own papers as the first author. And as I said before, if you want to start collaboration with someone, make sure that he or she understand that you will be a co-authors, that it is not free contribution, that you should be acknowledged. Because if your name is not there, then no one knows that you have contributed to the work. Sometimes we also need to have establish our network, like people that we do not publish well. Network, for example, if you attend a conference, you try to speak to people, so you are building your own works. You can also write to the editors of the journal, because later when you apply for a job, you need a referee. A referee is that someone knows you, so he can give you a recommendation, like apart from your supervisor. I think in most cases, when you apply for a job as an early career researcher, most likely they will ask you for your supervisor. So your supervisor is the best person who knows you. But you could also have other people that you know in the academia who can give you, who can write you a recommendation letter. I think writing a recommendation, if you apply for any position, they will ask always for a recommendation letter. So make sure that you know at least 3 people who can write you a recommendation letter. So your supervisor is one of them. If you have 2 supervisors, co-supervisor, then you have the enough number. But always make sure that you have at least 3 people who can give you a recommendation letter. So in this recommendation letter, they will explain how they knew you. So someone that you have met or published a paper with. So it's something very genuine. Okay, so let's summarize quickly. What are the skills for academic job? You need to plan your career, and you need to start research collaboration. You need to build on networks to start with. So I mentioned before that the benefit of the networking is it is to start building your career. When you apply for a position, you need someone to recommend you, apart from your supervisor in some cases. So when you do a research now, it's very important to maintain ethics and integrity in research. I think it's similar to if a person has a shop and he is known for cheating to the customer, no one will buy from him. So in research, it's exactly the same. We have to maintain a high standard of ethics and integrity in research. So those ones are honesty, objectivity. You have to be open. You should not discriminate, and you should respect colleague because I think there are like because apart from the professional life, we have to respect other people. I mean, it's very important. I think one of the criteria when you apply for promotion in a job, it is how good that you are to your colleagues. It's very important. Like even if you have a prize in physics, and if you are a rude person to your colleague, then it is a very bad impression. But here, when we say the ethics and integrity in research, most likely we mean if you are honest in reporting your data. I think, I'm not sure, but some of you might have seen a paper that has been retracted. A retracted paper that there was some serious issues in the ethics of the paper, that the data are fabricated, for example, or the data are completely wrong, or there is an authorship issue. If by any chance your paper is retracted, it will stay there. So what the journal will do, they will not remove it from the website. If they remove it from their website, it's fine. Like no one will know about it. But what they do, they will put a watermark on it. They say this paper is retracted because it has stolen data from other source, or the authors published the same result twice. So this is very bad. Like if your paper is retracted, it will stay there with a watermark. So then if you apply for a job, people will look for you in Scopus. They will not look at the CV. I mean, some of them might not look at the CV. They will open Scopus and write your name, and it will show that your paper has been retracted. So it will be very difficult to get a job. So what I'm saying, try to be honest as much as you can in reporting the data, because now everything is open. Like I think it depends on your field, but some papers now require you to report in details how you obtained the result. So if another person came and he repeated the same procedure, but he was not able to get the result, he might write to you. And if you could not answer him correctly, then he might write to the editor that I could not reproduce those results. And this is where the problem starts. So it's very important to be as much accurate as possible in reporting your data, because even after 10 years, one person might come try to reproduce results. I think it happens. A few people publish a number of articles in Nature, so they were all fabricated, and everyone knew. So that's destroyed those people's career. So ethics and integrity in research is very important in our profession, in academia. It's very important. I mean, it goes in both ways. To respect our colleagues, the student, we have to treat everyone with respect, with dignity, regardless of the race or religion or any other thing. Because at the end of the day, we are professional people. The second thing is try to be honest as much as you can and accurate as much as you can in reporting your result. If there is some fabrication, then someone might have discovered it. If someone have discovered it and it's proved, then it's a problem. It is a serious problem. Why it is serious? Because the journal will not remove the article. It will keep it there. So everyone knows that you have cheated in reporting the results. I mean, sometimes it's not cheating, that you did a mistake, so whatever. But cheating or try to publish something that has already been published, this is the most serious mistake. Or, for example, if an author contributed to the work and you didn't add him, and he knew after that, he would write to the editor he will complain that I contributed to this article, but this person didn't add me. Of course, the editor will ask you for an evidence. If you provided those evidence, then he will retract the paper. He will remove the paper. I think most publishers will not allow re-adding people to the paper after it's published. They will just retract it. Okay. I think now the second skill that for an academic you need to choose your publication styles and format. But we need to always aim for high quality research output. This is the most important thing. So you cannot go anywhere in academia without publishing papers. I mean, at least to secure the job. If you secure the job, you can publish a few papers to survive. But before securing the job, you have to have some records of publication. Now, the style of the publication style and format, it depends basically on the discipline. I mean, for us in engineering and science, we prefer to publish in journals. In computer science and information technology, sometimes they prefer to publish in conferences. I think, I'm not sure, but in computer science, it might be more difficult to get your paper accepted in a conference rather than in a journal. And in social science, sometimes they focus in books, in monographs. So you need to follow the publication style in your discipline. But I think nowadays it's common to focus on publication in journals. And now we will define what's a journal if we still have time. Now, should I aim for quality or quantity in my publication? Both are important. Quality and quantity. So what the short answer is, you should aim for many good quality publications. Now let's assume that you have the results and you have the choice to publish the paper as one or to divide it into two papers. So you have the results. So it's your choice to write it as a one or two. Like in science, they call it Islami-like publications. You divide the result into many papers. If you can do it and the paper is published, it's good. You can do it. I mean, here what's the advice is try to publish as many as possible. But my advice is always go to the quality. For example, if you have a choice to publish 2 papers in impact factor of 1 or publish 1 paper in impact factor of 5, you should go to the high impact factor. So people nowadays look at the quality rather than the quantity. So this is the most important now, it is the quality. If you publish a paper in high impact factor, it's much better than publishing a few papers in low impact factor. I mean, at least in your early life, you should aim for high quality papers. Initially, but later when you have the academic position, it might be okay to publish somehow in Q2, not always in Q1. But to get the job, you need to have high quality papers. This is a must. I mean, at least Q1, like your paper is within 25% ranked of the journals. Now, where to publish? This is very important question. You should always check if the journal is indexed in Web of Science or Scopus, like before sending the paper. Now, we all receive emails from unknown publishers that send us this manuscript and we will publish it for you. Well, before you respond to those people, make sure that it's indexed in Scopus. This is the most important thing. I mean, it should be indexed in Scopus. And sometimes some of the website of the journal, they claim that this is our impact factor. Impact factor, it is like in the indication of the quality of the paper, impact factor. But don't believe them. Go to if the publisher is unknown, go to the Web of Science. I don't have it, but go to the Scopus and write the name of the journal. If it's appear in Scopus or another database, then it is genuine. Otherwise, it's not. Nowadays, we have two choices. So what I'm saying, before you submit the manuscript, I mean, make sure that the journal is Scopus indexed. If it's not Scopus indexed, at least, then you are wasting your time and efforts. Yeah, like the paper does not exist if it's not indexed in Scopus. Like it's that you have never published the manuscript if it does not appear in Scopus. Because when you apply for the job, they will write your surname, your first name in Scopus database. I think we all know what Scopus. It's a database for journals. If your name doesn't appear or this journal doesn't appear in Scopus, then it does not exist. Now, there is another important question, like should I publish in open access or go to the subscription? I think nowadays open access, it's like the trend. It is the norm. So if you can cover the publication, fees, then you could go for open access journals. I mean, as long as it is indexed in Scopus, the open access, because they will ask you to pay publication fees. But as long as it's in Scopus, then it's okay. Otherwise, don't publish it there. When it comes to evaluate where should I publish, there are two measures. The first one is the journal impact factor. It's based on the Web of Science. The second one is SCImago. It is how the journal are ranked. I think now in the university we mainly focus on this one. It is the SCImago. Yep, I think I have to. Yeah, so nowadays we focus more on the SCImago journal rank. So this system rank the journal into Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4. And so when you publish a paper in your PhD, try to make it at least Q2. Like Q2, it is in the top 50%, Q2. If you can go for Q1, then it's even better. I think now, if you go, there is a publisher called MDBI. I think you all aware of. MDBI, it's an open access, but I mean, most of the journal are Q1. If you want to go for open access or go to another publisher, but try first to go for Q1. If it's rejected from this journal in Q1, send it to another, try to improve it, address the comments, send it to another Q1. So if you have the choice either to spend less time in a Q2 journal or in a Q1 journal, as an early career researcher, you should try as much as you can to publish it in Q1 rather than in Q2. When you secure the position, it might be okay to publish in Q2, but as an early career researcher, the quality of your research or your chances in securing academic job or to be promoted in your job depends on the quality. And this quality is based on two things, either the impact factor or the ranking of the journal. Ranking of the journal, you should always aim for Q1. If it's not possible, then at least Q2. I mean, try as much as you can not to publish in Q3 and Q4. Try as much as you can. I mean, if your supervisor, decided that this should go for Q4, then it is not good for you. Like it does not help your career to publish in low impact journal. I mean, it is not helpful. In fact, it is like a negative thing if you publish your PhD work in Q4. At least you should have at least one Q1 journal, at least one. But sometimes we choose to publish in the journal. There are other factors, which is the speed of the acceptance rate. I think most journals now openly announce what is our speed of acceptance. For example, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, whatever. What is our acceptance rate? I mean, if the journal is well known for taking so much long to respond, try to avoid this journal. For example, some journals I know, they will spend a year before they're giving you a decision. So try to avoid those journals. I think now Elsevier, if you got, I think we all can find journals in Elsevier. And Elsevier, they will give the reviewer 3 weeks to respond, on 3 weeks, which is good, 3 weeks. So you might have the first decision in 3 weeks based on the system. So my advice is try to go to Elsevier first, because they try to give you a decision in 3 to 4 weeks. Okay, I don't think we'll have time to cover this, but I've given another workshop, detailed one, on how to apply for external grant. One of the more, I think, as I started, there are 2 things that will give you an extra edge to secure or to be promoted in academic job. It's high quality of publication, and the second one, it is applying for external grants. So you need to teach yourself or improve your skill how to write a research grant. So writing research grant is slightly different from writing a paper. So in writing the paper, you basically explain that these are the results. However, and when you write a grant, you just make promises based on some evidences that if you give me this money, I can do this and I can do that based on my previous experience or based on my observation. So you need to give them some evidences, but you do not have the results yet. I think if you have these 2 things, if you know how to write a research grant, if you know how to publish good papers, then this will open a door of success in academia. So these are the 2 most important things, basically. It is writing the grants and publishing a paper. I think if you are interested, I can send you my presentation on how to write external grant, because it's like a must skill that people who normally get the external fund, they are artists in writing the grant, because the grant application should be written in a way that should convince the funding agency to give you the fund. So, I mean, some people know how to write good papers, but they don't know how to write a grant application. I don't think we have the time to cover this, but anyway. Well, you could ask this question, like, I'm still a PhD student, so why should I learn how to write a grant? I think writing a grant is an important part of your professional growth strategy. If you choose to continue working in academia, then you should teach yourself or to enhance your skills on writing the grant. Like initially, it's painful to write the grant in the required format. And you may not get the money at the end. So it's like time wasted. But if you keep trying, one day you will get the grant. I mean, if you write the proposal very well, according to their format, according to the guidelines, there is a chance that you will get the fund. So now, if you're still a PhD student or you are about to graduate, then it is the time that you try to at least see some good proposal that have been approved, and see how they have been written. Like, what is the style? What is like how they sell their ideas? I think writing a grant is that you are trying to sell an idea. This is my idea. Please give me money, and I can have wonderful result. But the way to do it, it is like a skills. For example, if you have 2 shops, one of them is very good in selling, then you will go for him. You will not go for the other shop which is silent. So it is the same methodology. So why do you need to write a grant? Because you build your individual credential, you build track record of funding. I think if you see any job application, in most cases, one of the criteria that you know at least how to write a grant, that you have a previous experience in writing a grant. So as an early career researcher, most likely they will not ask you if you have previous fund, but they will ask you in the interview definitely what's your experience in writing a grant. So even if it's not accepted, it's still a good thing to mention in the interview that I have written a grant, but unfortunately a grant application, but unfortunately it was not successful. So I will improve my proposal and apply again. So because nowadays you cannot do a research without funds. When you finish your PhD, you need to train the next generation of PhD students. And you cannot hire a PhD student without a fund. I think most of us, like as a PhD student, you are working on a fund. So your supervisor have written the grant application. So in that case, you could ask the supervisor, could you please give me a copy of the proposal so I can look at the structure, so I can train myself how to write it. I don't think we have time to do this, but what is the pathway of writing a grant? Very quickly, you need to have an idea. You need to find a funding agency at least. Then you write the proposal. Then you submit the proposal. There are two chances: either they will give you, either they will review, they will give you some comments to improve on the proposal, or either they will reject or accept. But if you write a proposal, it will stay with you. You can recycle it, you can improve it, you can submit it next year. So, so it is not completely time wasted. You can write it and you can add it to your CV. You can mention it in the interview, because it's not always the case that a PhD student knows how to write a grant. But if you know, then this will give you an extra edge. I think writing your first proposal might be difficult. It makes sometimes, but when you write the next proposal, it will be less time consuming, because you know how to write it. I think in most cases you need to know the problem. Anyway, if you are interested in writing a grant, write to me an email. I can send you the entire presentation, which gives detailed information. What are the sections and how to write it, how to present the ideas, what to write in the first page, what to write in the second paragraph, and so on. So it's very detailed. I can write it to you. We only have 10 minutes, unfortunately, to finish, so I have to be quick. Okay. Another important skill that you must have in academic job is to sell your achievement. So other people should know that you have did nice work. And okay, for example, let's assume that you have worked very hard in the lab for 3 years in your PhD, but you didn't publish anything. Then this is not good. It's like that you have done nothing if you didn't publish the result. So thesis itself is not a publication. So to sell your achievement, you should publish it. You should publish it in a journal, and of course, sometimes in some fields they prefer conferences. I think as an early career researcher, you should look for your H index. H index is basically I think now H index is basically how many papers your papers has been, how many times your paper has been cited. For example, if you have published 10 papers and 5 of them have been cited 5 times, then your H index is 5. So as an early career researcher, if you like to know if this person is a good researcher or not, the first thing you need to look at is the H index. Well, if you write anyone's names in Scopus, his surname, it will give the H index straight away. So, like normally, if your H index is high, definitely you will get an academic position. So here, the first thing that they will look at is the H index. So where the H index comes, it's from the quality of publications. If people refer to your paper, cite your paper, your H index will be high. I think as an early career researcher, a fresh PhD graduate, your H index will be low, but that's fine. But you need to keep monitoring your H index. You can ask people, like when you receive a paper to review, for example, I mean, you could think of a way to ask those people gently that you have reported this result, but other people related similar results. So how do you think this fits? So this will encourage people to cite your paper. You need to open an account on ResearchGate. So people will know that you have published this work, so they might cite it. If you publish in non-Scopus, those papers will not be cited. So don't publish in a non-Scopus indexed paper. So each index is very important in nowadays career. If you go to, what you can do, go to Scopus and write someone name, it will give you the each index. I think normally after 2 years of your graduation, if your its index is 5, then it's good. I mean 5, but it will improve by time. But it's very important thing to keep monitoring and try to increase the number of citations of your paper. It's like you publicize them. You tell people that know that you have done the job. So I mean, of course, another aspect is that you should have a first-class CV. That you should write a good CV. So what are the characteristics of a first-class CV? It has to be up to date. It has to be informative. Are we finishing or not yet?
Still not yet, sir.
Okay, sorry. What you need to have? You need to have an official CV that it is up to date, and it has to be informative. You have to mention your publication and make a difference between publications and conferences. So you should not claim something higher than it's what it was for. For example, if you publish a journal article, if you publish a conference, then don't say it's a journal article. In your CV, don't mention manuscript and in preparation, because they do not exist yet. So just mention published, or some people mention under review, because under review you have the manuscript, but don't mention in preparation. For example, I could mention 1,000 in preparation, but they do not exist, so they have no value. So just mention the already published or under review that they have been sent. I think we have a format. Well, when you apply for a job, or you need to write a cover letter in the email, because most of the positions will ask you to write a cover letter along with the CV. So this cover letter will introduce yourself, and you can talk about your research project very briefly, and how you're gonna contribute, and why you are interested in the job. Like, why am I applying the job? Why? And how my qualifications and experience achievements are in line with your specification. So you need to tell the person that I know why I am applying the job. I mean, of course, you are applying the job because you need the job, but this is not the other person want to hear. He want to know why you specifically apply for the job. Like, why you? Like, what skills can you bring to the position in the cover letter? When you apply for an academic job, recruiters mainly they will focus on your name. So you have to make your CV informative and up to date. So people who read the CV, they'll spend 80% of their quick time on a few things: your name, your current position, your previous positions, where did you work before, and your education. So as a fresh graduate, that's what they will look at. They will look at the publications, your name, from where did you finish your PhD, and so you should make those very clear in the CV. I think there is a certain format for academic for an academic-based CV. You should list, I think it's this one. You should list the paper. You should list funds that you have applied for. If you have awards, it's very important to mention the award. So if there is anything in the university for awards, for example, awards in presentation or innovation award, apply for it. Definitely spend some time and apply for it, because this is what your CV. So whenever you have something in your CV, report it. And when you list the journal publications, highlight your name, so people will know that I am the first author, for example, or something. So they would notice. For example, sometimes people in their CV or in their cover letter, they write general statement. Those general statement has no value. For example, I am very passionate about research. Of course, all we are, but what are the evidences? For example, I plan to publish high quality papers. What is the evidence? The evidence is that you have published before and you can do it again, but don't claim something that you cannot provide. You cannot provide an evidence for. Of course, you need to, when you publish your first paper, try to make an ORCID account. ORCID account will summarize all your research output. So it will be, I think if you go to this website, it will enable you to create it. So it will give you a unique number. I think now most publishers, when you submit a paper, most publishers will ask you for the ORCID account. ORCID account, just to see what is your research contribution before. It's similar to Scopus, but it summarizes the research outputs, all the research output. When you review a paper, try to there is a website that will give you a certificate for reviewing. I think it's called Papillon, but unfortunately I didn't add it to the presentation. So when you review a paper, you will add it to the CV that I have reviewed these papers. So what is the evidence? Keep the email that comes from the journal. So keep anything that might help you in a folder. Keeps your attempts for awards or grants or publication, anything. So when you apply for a job, you should provide the evidences for everything. This evidence, sometimes just an email. So keep this email with you. So this is an example of a research academic position CV. You need to have your official contact details, your name, your email, whatever, your current roles, responsibility, your previous employment dates, your awards, academic recognition, if you have H factor, and if you have participated in any committee, add it. I think anything helps in the CV as an early career researcher. Anything help. If you have some industrial collaboration, you could also add it. If you have reviewed manuscripts, you can also add it. There is no time to cover this. Sometimes it's also important to, when you communicate, you need to be honest when you say that your achievement or what you have done, and try not to get automatically defensive in the interview. For example, if you asked for if you are in interview, and try to be calm, and because the person doesn't know you personally, so he's just trying to see if you will fit the position or not. So if he asks you what was your contribution in this paper, answer it nicely, but don't overreact it, and try to be valid in your points, and don't make negative. Don't try to bring up negative points. For example, if you're not asked about unsuccessful attempts in something, don't mention it unless that you are asked for. Also, at your early stage of academic career, even as a PhD student, try to get involved in societies. Like, for example, you work in computer science, there's IEEE. If you work in chemistry, there is American Chemical Society. So try to join a society in your field, an international society. Like, at least join for the first year. So they will send you a certificate that you are a member. If you are a member, you add it to your CV and so on. So try to join at least one, like the big one. They have chapters for early career researcher and PhD students. There are different categories, but try try your best to join one of them, because you will add it to your CV. If you add it to your CV, this will tell people that you are passionate about your professional and you are in touch with your profession on what other people published. And I mean, of course, they will send you important links to apply for more job or other things. But it's very important to join societies in your field. For example, I am, as a chemist, we are a member of American Chemical Society, or if you work on other field, physics or any other thing, there is always a society. You could also prepare yourself for interview. These are the most important questions. When you go for the interview, you try to have a solid answer for expected questions. From my experience, this will be the question that people would ask. For example, what would you bring to us if you are to be given the position? Like why? For example, why did you apply for the position? I mean, if you answer, I am looking for a job, this is a wrong answer. You say that you are working on this field. I am also working in a closely related, I can contribute. So try to think of a smart answer. I mean, of course, everyone knows that you are looking for a job, but this is not the answer that they are looking for. They will ask you, like, how do you see you fit with the position? Go to the profile or the website of the university or the department, know something about them so you can mention it in the interview. For example, you could mention Professor X is working on this area, and I think I can contribute to his work by doing this and this. So try to provide detailed information. So what are your most important achievements in research? You need to mention it. So how do you plan to fund your research? By applying for grants. So you should know what are those funding agencies in that country. And at the end of the interview, they will ask you, do you have a question for us? So try to ask a question. If you say you don't have a question, this means that you are not interested. So you need to think of a question. For example, if what are the research facilities in your lab? So try to ask a related question, any question, but it has to be related, of course. Okay, I guess I think the time doesn't allow, but thank you so much, and I wish you all the best in your academic career and in applying for a job. If you send me an email, I can send you my other presentation on writing external grants.
Yeah, thank you so much, Doctor, for the great presentation, especially for the PhD students who will be graduating soon. So if you don't mind, can you write your email, because some students are looking for the presentation that you're offering.
I'll write it on the chat, yeah?
Yeah, please. And for all of you, can you please, I will post the feedback link. Can you fill it before leaving? And I would appreciate that too much. Thank you, Doctor, so much.
Yep.
And
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Yes, Khaled, it will be on our channel. If you don't mind, can you email us and we'll send you the link, because this session is recorded. I'm still waiting for some people to fill the survey, so can you fill it, please? Thank you so much.